I thank the Speaker and thank the Chair of the Subcommittee, Mr. Cummings, for his leadership on this issue, Mr. Lobiando for the participation in the hearings that we've held and the markup and the crafting of this very important legislation. It's an issue that I've been dealing with for 35 years since I've served in the House. I started my service, of course, on the Public Works Committee, as it was called then, but also on the Merchant Marine and Fisheries Committee, which has jurisdiction over our waters and the water environment and the ocean environment. And many years ago, I gave a talk to a maritime group, quoted the poet Coleridge, citing our ocean environment, and the ocean itself is deep, dark, heaving, endless, and mysterious. Deep it is, deeper than perhaps the Himalaya chain. Dark in its greatest depths, heaving in the worst of storms. Mysterious. We're beginning to unlock the mysteries of the ocean. Endless it is not. Endless has given rise to the notion that we can discharge whatever refuse we have of humanity into the ocean because it is endless. It is not. The drift nets that continue to kill with no social redeeming purpose. The trash of plastic that we have discharged into the oceans and that gather in a swirl where Pacific Ocean currents meet and gather miles and thousands of square miles of plastics that are ingested by whales, and one was found starving because it had ingested so much styrofoam it couldn't process food. It is not endless, and neither are the chemicals that we discharge into the ocean. They don't just fall harmlessly to the bottom and go out of sight. They enter into the food chain. What I learned in my earliest service on the Merchant Marine and Fisheries Committee and on the Merchant Marine Subcommittee was the need to protect the hulls of vessels from fouling, that our large, deep draft merchant vessels can accumulate up to 6,000 tons of plants, yes, plants that will grow in the accumulation on the hulls, and creatures and shellfish, and of course the well-known and oft-referenced barnacles. And that accumulation can slow down the vessel, can cause up to a 40% reduction in speed and 40% increase in fuel. And science was enlisted to find a coating for hulls that would inhibit plant growth, and they found one, tributylin. And like so many of these great discoveries, it has terrible side effects. It's causing shell deformation in oysters, neurotoxic and genetic effects in other marine species, and it's been found in the fatty tissue of whales and dolphins and sharks and other sea creatures. And it just goes on into the food chain. It's like PCB on land. And we have to stop this, and there's happily an international convention on toxics in the marine environment. And we need to be a part of that. America needs to be, we need to be a leader. Even though our merchant fleet has gone downhill from the time I was elected and took office in 1975, we had 800 merchant vessels in the American fleet. We were 8th in the world's fleets. That was dead last. But at one time, we had 25 million deadweight tons of shipping. We had 5,500 merchant vessels. We were number 1 in the world. Well, now the COSCO, the Chinese shipping company, is number one. They have the greatest number of vessels. They have 25 million deadweight tons of merchant shipping. Would the gentleman yield another minute?
I grant the gentleman another 3 minutes.
I thank
The
gentlemen.
gentleman is recognized.
And the Maersk fleet of Denmark, now carrying 13,000 containers on vessels 1,000 feet in length, and other behemoths that ply the waters. And they're all accumulating these organisms, and this tributylin material is being applied to the hulls. And it's all being sloughed off into the oceans. So while we are, as a flag carrier nation, small in the picture, our leadership is still huge. And we have to take this step, this important step, to prevent the continued pollution of the oceans and of their marine life within them, so that someday we can return to Coleridge and find the ocean deep, dark, heaving, endless, and mysterious, and clean, inhabitable, useful for itself and for humanity. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back.